Naruto and Zabuza stood opposite each other in the middle of Training Ground 8, holding their respective blades. Zabuza's sword, the Executioner's blade, rested on his shoulder. Naruto held his single-edged sword in one hand and an extra kunai in the other. They gave each other a smirk before disappearing in a flash of speed. Hinata, Kurenai, and Shino watched as they clashed. Shino was having difficulty keeping up with the speed of his friend and the Anbu, whilst the girls watched them easily. Naruto jumped, avoiding the slash from Zabuza. He threw his kunai past his opponent, who jumped forward for another flurry of attacks. The blonde ducked under him and grabbed his kunai and threw it once again. Zabuza barely avoided being hit in the face as the kunai flew past him. He saw a seal written on the handle. In a poof of smoke, another sword came from the storage seal written on the blade. Naruto jumped, grabbed the second blade, and swung it at Zabuza's neck. Naruto jumped, grabbed the second blade, and swung it at Zabuza's neck. The Jonin blocked with his sword, only to feel the tip of another on his chest. He looked down to see Naruto's shadow clone holding the blade against his chest, smirking happily. The real Naruto stood behind him, holding the second sword and kunai. I wasn't expecting the storage seal on a kunai. I'm impressed. Naruto smiled and deactivated his clone. Well, if I hadn't pulled that off, it would have taken longer to beat you. The ex-mist ninja rolled his eyes. Like you would run out of energy before that. You are already a capable swordsman. Couple that with your massive chakra reserves, and you could win every time. Agreed, Kurenai said, walking up to the two. And that only boosts my confidence in you three. I know that you are ready for the Chunin exams. In fact, I already signed you up. Naruto and Hinata let out a mental sigh. After 7 months, they would finally be able to advance to Chunin and not have to deal with the boring tasks Genin had to suffer through. Shino, on the other hand, was a little uncertain about the exams. It was not that he considered himself weak, he just didn't know if he could keep up with his teammates. Kurenai placed her hand on his shoulder. You are stronger than most Genin, Shino. Your skills with Insect and Lightning Style are amazing, as well as your Taijutsu, which most would not expect you to have. Plus, your squad mates would never leave you behind. Shino nodded. He knew that if he did his best, he would advance to Chunin. Teammates went their separate ways to prepare for the exams in 2 days. Kurenai watched her students as Zabuza walked up beside her. You think that there will be others as strong as them in the exams? I doubt it. I'd bet a full month's wages that they win by a landslide. I'll hold you to that, the Anbu said. Streets of the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto walked through the village streets towards the weapons shop. He was on the way to buy more shuriken before the exams, when he turned and heard a cry for help from a pair of kids running towards them. The first, Moegi, was a girl with tall orange hair. The other was Udon, a brown-haired kid with glasses. They both wore a pair of goggles, which Naruto used to wear back when he was pretending to be the dead last. Big brother Naruto, please help. Some scary-looking guys got Konohamaru. Naruto frowned. Konohamaru was the grandson of Hiruzen Sarutobi. He had met the kid and his 2 friends during his time as the dead last. He had been annoying at first, but once Konohamaru confided in Naruto, while always being in his grandfather's shadow, they became good friends. Since he was related to the Hokage, Naruto told him about his training and swore him to secrecy. Naruto followed Moegi and Udon around a bend in the path, and were met with 3 faces. One was Konohamaru, who wore a yellow shirt, blue scarf, and goggles. He was being held above the ground by the collar. The boy holding him was around Naruto's age. He wore a black full-body suit, with a red and yellow circle in the front. His face was covered with purple face paint, as well as a hood with cat-like ears and his forehead protector. He carried a large object wrapped in bandages on his back. The third was a girl with teal eyes and sandy blonde hair, which was separated into 4 pigtails. She wore a light pink garment that came halfway down her thighs, with a scarlet sash around her waist. The top of her garment was made from fishnets, which came down above her average-sized breasts and over her shoulders. Her ninja headband was tied around her neck. On her back was a large fan used for combat. The newcomer's forehead protectors had the symbol for the hidden sand village. The boy held his fist threateningly in front of Konohamaru, who was struggling to break free. "You better give me a good reason not to hurt you from bumping into me, brat." "I'll give you one," Naruto said, making the others turn. "That kid is the grandson of the 3rd Hokage. You hurt him, and you may have a war on your hands." The Sand Ninja frowned and dropped Konohamaru, who scurried away, giving a thank you to Naruto. "Well, if I can't rough him up, how about I settle for you instead? It will help me warm up for the Chunin exams." Naruto stayed impassive. These 2 genin were here for the exams, which explained why there were sand shinobi in the village. Naruto could tell they were stronger than the average genin, but not strong enough to be trouble for Naruto. Sand Boy threw a fist at Naruto. He easily dodged, grabbed his arm, and put him in an elbow lock before he could tell what was happening. The boy tried to break free, but Naruto's grip stayed firm. The girl gasped, and was going to jump in and help if a shadow clone did not place a kunai to her back. "I suggest you keep your abilities hidden until the exams. You may be stronger than average, but don't get cocky," Naruto said, releasing the 2. They were about to retaliate when a coarse voice was heard from above. "Kankuro, Tamari, enough." Kankuro and Tamari slowly turned towards the voice. Naruto followed their gaze to see another boy standing upside down on a tree branch above them, and vanished in a pillar of sand, only to reappear on the ground. He had dirty red hair. His eyes were green, with no eyebrows and no apparent pupils. Black rings surrounded his eyes. The symbol for love was carved onto the left side of his forehead. He wore a black open-necked t-shirt and almost full-length leggings. A white cloth came from his right shoulder to his left hip, and a wide leather band from his left shoulder to right hip. His headband was wrapped around the leather band. On his back was a large gourd made of sand. "I apologize for my siblings' actions. What is your name?" the boy asked. "Naruto Uzumaki," said the blonde. "My name is Gaara of the desert," he replied, then clutched his head. Naruto did the same. "Impossible. It can't be," Gaara said, shaking in fear, making his siblings gasp. "So, that means I've met 4 of you now. I was hoping I would meet you, number 1. "What are you talking about?" Kankuro asked hesitantly. He did not like where this was going. Naruto smirked and pointed to the 9 written on his back. "Your brother and I are in a way also brothers. Or rather, the beings we hold are. He has 1 tails. I have 9 tails." Gaara's siblings gasped and backed away slowly. They knew the power Gaara possessed as a Jinchuriki, but now they were facing another Jinchuriki who possessed even greater power. "We're leaving," Gaara announced. "We will meet again, Naruto Uzumaki, and then I will kill you, so that I may give meaning to my existence." Gaara turned and disappeared alongside his siblings in another pillar of sand. "Brat, I can tell that Shukaku, One-Tails, is unstable inside the boy's body. His seal's not strong enough to keep Shukaku from influencing him." "Is Shukaku naturally mad or something?" Naruto asked. "No, but his last Jinchuriki was imprisoned by the Sand Village for his whole long life. Once his Jinchuriki died, He came out borderline psychotic. And since the seal is poorly made, Shukaku can easily influence Gaara. Guess I'll have to tell this to the old man. And I will see about perfecting the seal later, Naruto said. He let out a sigh and started back towards the weapons shop. Hokage Tower. Are you telling me that the Kazekage led an unstable Jinchuriki into our village without my knowledge? Hokage yelled angrily. Naruto had just arrived and informed him of Gaara, and he seemed quite frustrated. From what I have learned from the 8 trigram seal and the scroll of sealing, reconstructing a seal could be done in a matter of minutes. I could do it if I had the chance to get to him without interruption. Good. If I do not get an explanation from the Kazekage, I want you to recreate his seal and... Wait, when did you get the scroll of sealing? A shadow clone intercepted Mizuki after academy graduation. He planned to take it. My clone stopped him and decided to put the scroll to good use, Naruto explained sheepishly. Hiruzen let out a long sigh. I'm just not gonna ask what you were able to learn from that scroll. Just have a plan in place for Shukaku's resealing. Naruto raised his hand in a mock salute. Yes, Lord Hokage, he said before vanishing in a poof of smoke. Hiruzen smiled. To think that boy can use so many forbidden techniques so easily. He really is like his father, a true prodigy in his own way. Chunin exam building, 2 days later. Teammate entered the building that was going to hold the first stage of the Chunin exams. They handed the exam forms to the shinobi at the front desk and were instructed to head to the room on the 3rd floor. The group followed the stairs and ended up running into a large pack of genin standing in front of the doors. Release, Shino said, flaring his chakra, breaking the illusion for himself. The sign above the door said they were on the 2nd floor, not the 3rd. Naruto and Hinata followed suit, already knowing it was a genjutsu. Unfortunately, Sasuke was facing off against the 2 people guarding the entrance, saying that they should release the genjutsu. Sasuke did not realize that because of his arrogance, more people would arrive for the exams. His teammates, Sakura and Kiba, stood behind him, waiting patiently. With the help from their training with teammates, they broke the illusion. Now they just had to hope their teammate would hurry up. Naruto rolled his eyes. He was about to move past the crowd when the genin were intercepted by an ecstatic voice. Come, my friends, let's not fight and save it for the Chunin exams. In between Sasuke and the guard stood a boy in a green jumpsuit, orange leg warmers, and a red headband around his waist. His eyes were round with prominent lower lashes and large eyebrows. His hair was a shiny bowl cut. He seemed to be a year older than the others. Who are you? Asked an annoyed Sasuke. My name is Rock Lee. I'm a member of Team Guy. Lee moved over to Sakura and began trying to flirt with her, but to no avail. Hinata activated her Byakugan. She let out a small hum of surprise. His chakra pathways are incredibly small. He must not be able to use ninjutsu or genjutsu. That is right, Lee said enthusiastically and peering in front of teammates, displaying his great speed. I have no talent for ninjutsu or genjutsu, but I have dedicated my life to become a taijutsu master and prove that I can be a great shinobi. Naruto, I've heard about you. I would like to challenge you. Naruto blinked. If we meet in battle during the exams, then I'm all for it. I have a profound respect for people like you. Lee gave him his signature grin and thumbs up. He turned to Hinata and Shino and asked for similar challenges. They gave him similar answers. Lee was about to go on talking when he was interrupted by the shout of a girl. Lee, I told you not to run away like that. The girl's name was Tenten. She had brown eyes and hair tied in 2 buns. She wore a pink shirt with no sleeves and green pants. Her blue headband was tied around her forehead. She dragged Lee away, apologizing to teammate as they did so. Another figure stood beside her, approached Hinata. Hinata tilted her head when the figure said her name. Lady Hinata, I was not expecting to see you here. I would have assumed you had given up on being a shinobi. Well, Neji, I changed my mind, Hinata replied with an emotionless voice. Her cousin now stood before her. He wore a dull-colored shirt and brown shorts. His right leg and arm were wrapped in bandages. His forehead was covered with his headband, as well as another which had 2 straps frame his face. His hair was deep brown, tied in a loose, low ponytail. His eyes were white with no pupils, like Hinata's. Why is it that you defy your destiny? You are destined to be weak, simple as that. Naruto suddenly burst out laughing. Neji turned his glare to the blonde. Sorry, I just couldn't help it. So this is the infamous Neji? I've heard a lot about you. You must be Naruto Uzumaki. I heard you were the dead last in the academy. I am surprised that you are also here for the exams. Like Hinata, you are destined to lose. This time it was Hinata's turn to laugh. Neji frowned. What's so funny? Just that the 2 of us are likely the strongest ones here for the exams. Neji's anger continued to rise, but before he could act on it, teammate had disappeared to the exam room. Lee's eyes sparkled, while Tenten gazed with awe at the spot the trio once stood. Yo, Shikamaru! It's been a while, Naruto called out as he and his team entered the exam room, making all other participants glare daggers at him. You're so troublesome, Naruto, the pineapple-haired boy said. Now everyone is looking at us. So what? Besides, you've not been able to talk since graduation, Shino pointed out. Shikamaru huffed, slightly surprised at how Shino was speaking. The Nara is right. It is not wise to bring attention to ourselves, even if we are stronger, Kiba said as he walked up to the group, followed by Sakura and Sasuke. Naruto smirked. Kiba had grown a little since the Land of Waves. Sakura had as well. She was not wearing makeup, which surprised most of her friends. She had also decided to cut her hair, so it would not get in her way during combat. Sasuke, on the other hand, was the same arrogant Uchiha he always was. He gave the other participants a smirk of superiority, making them even angrier. So, it looks like our class is reunited, Toji said as he snacked on a bag of chips. Ino and Sakura smiled. Shino and Kiba nodded, while the others stayed impassive. I suggest you keep quiet, said an unknown voice. The Leaf Ninja turned to see a boy with silver hair and glasses with a leaf headband. My name is Kabuto. I am sort of a veteran here. You don't want to attract attention. Most of the people here are stronger than the average genin. I have information on most of the people here if you wish to hear it. Sasuke's eyes instantly narrowed. Give me Naruto Uzumaki and Gaara of the Desert. Kabuto eyed him and Naruto for a moment before pulling out a stack of cards and sent chakra into a pair of them. Alright, Gaara of the Desert. He has average genin missions and multiple S-rank missions, and he has not gotten a single scratch during any of them. He uses the magnet style, more commonly known as sand style. Whoa, number 1 is that strong, said Fu, who had appeared behind Shino, her eyes wide. Everyone but teammate jumped. Naruto gave her a brief introduction, making sure to leave her Jinchuriki status unannounced. He stared at her, telling her not to reveal her power now. She nodded, and when asked, she brushed off calling Gaara number 1. Anyway, Kabuto continued. Naruto Uzumaki. Average Genin missions, 1 S-rank mission, where he recruited a rogue ninja into the village. He is proficient with lightning, fire, and wind style. He has created 3 new taijutsu styles and 1 S-rank ninjutsu that goes alongside one of his said styles. And, despite being the dead last throughout the academy, graduated at the top of his class alongside Hinata Hyuga. The Leaf Ninja gawked in amazement. Naruto ignored them and instead focused on Kabuto. He could sense a lot of hatred pointed at the others, primarily himself, Fu, and Gaara. Brat, that boy reeks of snakes. Plus, he knows both you and Gaara's records, which are confidential. Do you know what that means? Kurama asked. I do. If I find him, I'll let the Hokage know. Naruto was shaken from his mindscape by Hinata, who pointed at the approaching ninja from the hidden sound village, which recently appeared in the map a few months ago. I hear you guys have information on the competition. Hand it over. Kabuto frowned and placed the cards back into his pouch, implying that the information was not for them. Well then, if you won't comply, why don't I mess up Whisker Face, the sound ninja said, turning to Naruto. He says you created a jutsu. Let's see it. Naruto turned his head away. Waste of chakra. The sound ninja growled and grabbed Naruto by the collar. He lifted Naruto off his feet. The man looked into Naruto's eyes, which had transformed into blood red with slitted pupils. His ki was released all at once, making the sound ninja drop him. All the ninja in the room, outside the Leaf Shinobi, fell to their knees from the pressure. His comrades felt the ki, even though it was not directed at them, and took a step away from the blonde. Hinata took Naruto's hand and looked into his red eyes, which were hidden from the others. Save the ki for the later parts of the exam, okay? Naruto nodded and deactivated his fox eyes and stopped releasing ki. At that moment, the proctor for the exam, Ibiki Morino, entered the room. He wore a large black trench coat and a bandana covering the top of his head. He was about to tell the genin to settle down when he felt the after effects of Naruto's ki, which made him tense up in fear for the briefest of moments. He looked at the whisker-faced boy who had been able to frighten him, a man who had faced numerous tortures and had never given up information to the enemy. He instantly recognized the boy as the nine-tailed fox's brat. He let out a sigh and pushed the thought out of his mind, not wanting to bring back memories of the fox's attack. Alright, kids, get off the ground and in your seats. We're gonna start the first stage of the exams. The assembled genin rose, giving their own waves of ki to Naruto before sitting down in their seats. My name is Ibiki Morino. I'm your proctor for the first exams. As the proctor, whatever I say goes. This part of the exam consists of a written test with 10 questions. You will have 1 answer to find the first 9 questions. At the end, I will give you the last question. You each get 3 points. Each time you are caught cheating, you will lose a point. If one of your squad mates loses all 3 points, your whole team will fail the exam. The genin began to murmur among themselves, saying that the test was unfair. Ibiki sighed and let out his ki. The genin were glued to their seats, unable to move. Ibiki looked over at the members of Team 8. Chino was lightly sweating, but otherwise unfazed. Hinata slouched in her chair, staring lazily at Ibiki. Naruto gave him a foxy smirk. Ibiki returned the smirk before turning back to the genin. This is my exam. I make my own rules. Now, the Chunin on either side of the room will be monitoring you. When you receive your test, and the signal is given, you may begin. A Chunin handed out the tests to each of the students, and Ibiki started the test. Almost all of them realized that the questions were too hard for a regular genin. The point of this test is to cheat, Naruto realized. The point is to see if you can cheat without being caught. Although, Naruto had no need to cheat, since he knew the answers due to his and Hinata's studying when they were younger. He snuck a glance at his friends and comrades. Chino was using his insects, as was Fu, who had learned how to communicate with them after a few days training. Sakura, who was a study freak, had no trouble finishing. Team 10 was, from the looks of it, using Ino's mind transfer jutsu. Kiba was having difficulty, but was able to have Akamaru sit on top of his head and spy. Team Guy were also using their own abilities to finish. Neji, his Byakugan, Tenten, her ninja wires attached to mirrors, and Lee, his incredible speed to look at other people's paper. Sasuke was using his 2 and 1 Tomoed Sharingan to copy people's writing, a surprisingly smart idea. He and Hinata were the first to flip over their papers, 15 minutes after the exam had started. Slowly but surely, people began to get caught cheating, and were sent away, or were finishing their tests. Finally, Ibiki spoke, and gave them the final question. Alright kids, time for the 10th question. Before you get it, you have a choice. You may leave now and come back to the next time the Chunin exams are held. Or you can stay and answer the question. So why would we not answer the question? Tamari asked, getting murmurs of agreement from the other genin. Ibiki grinned. If you decide to stay and fail the 10th question, you can't come back for the next exam. In fact, you won't be able to become a Chunin, ever. The room erupted in shouts of protest. My exam, my rules, Ibiki shouted back, sending out ki to emphasize his point. Now, if one of your teammates decide to chicken out, your whole team has to leave as well. Now decide. At once, genin began to give up left and right. Eventually, it came down to the Leaf Ninja that Naruto knew. Fu's team, Gaara's team, Kabuto's team, and a handful of others. A total of 26 teams decided to stay. He glanced at his comrades. None of them had decided to back out, not even a Shikamaru, who would have left at a second's chance. But Choji and Ino would kill him if he did. So, I guess there's only one thing left to do. You all passed the first stage of the exams. The genin looked at each other in shock. Kiba was about to ask why they were not receiving the next question, when he was stopped by Naruto's voice. Let me guess. The point of the first 9 questions were to see how well we did at information gathering, while the 10th question was to see if we would place the mission ahead of survival. Chino finished, readjusting his glasses. Ibiki nodded. That pretty much sums it up. He was about to continue when a figure burst through the window opposing the first proctor. Hello everyone! My name is the amazing, single Anko Mitarashi. I'm the proctor for the second stage of the exam, a woman announced, standing up. She had light brown eyes and purple hair that covered her forehead protector, and was tied back in a high, fanned-out ponytail. Her mesh armor started at her neck, went down over her large chest, and ended at her thighs. Over that, she wore a large overcoat which was tan on the outside and purple on the inside. Around her waist was an orange miniskirt and a dark blue belt, as well as a pale gray shin guards. In addition, a snake pendant was tied around her neck and a watch on her wrist. Meet me at the Forest of Death in 1 hour for the second exam, Anko said excitedly before jumping out the window she entered. Naruto gained a small grin as he rejoined his teammates. She was his old student. Good. She will be helpful if he shows up.